Stories are a common feature of our everyday existence. We will continually reflect on the question, why do I need a story to live by? In this video we will explore visual ways of telling sacred stories. Symbols help us to navigate the world around us. Sometimes things are easier to understand if they are put into images rather than words. Religions often use symbols too, and some of the common symbols are on the screen. Sacred stories are often formed around images, such as the story of the crucifixion, which is bound to the Christian symbol of the cross, and Jewish stories about King David, which are tied to the Star of David. Look up the meaning of the symbol of Sikhism and find out the story that it reflects. However, religions make use of imagery much more than just to symbolize the religion itself. We will explore how some spiritual traditions have used imagery to tell sacred stories. Indigenous sacred stories are often told through imagery, from body painting to rock painting. Today, a recognizable form of indigenous art has developed which tells sacred stories. Often the process of creating a work of art is a spiritual process for Indigenous Australians, and some body painting recognizes the individual's spiritual life. What are icons? They are flat images which are usually painted on wood, although they can be made with other materials or as mosaics. The most popular subject of a Christian icon is Jesus, who is fundamental to Christian sacred stories. Mary and Joseph are also often depicted. Icons can also be made of saints. On the right is the recently canonized Pope John Paul II. Sometimes the creation of icons is called icon writing, perhaps due to the Greek word used to describe depicting, which can also mean writing, and a tradition has grown around that. Does it make any difference if we talk about an icon being written rather than painted? Being written implies that the image is the equivalent of words, that it represents exactly what the words represent. Is this always the case? Greek Orthodox professor of art history John Yanis argues that the term writing icons should not be used because it implies, I quote, an icon is essentially a representation of words as opposed to a representation of things that words represent. Some Catholics also retain the idea about icons being written. The process of creating an icon is itself spiritual. Specific prayers are said before the process begins and when it finishes. Many iconographers follow a particular process, such as laying out the gold background first, some say to give the atmosphere of heaven, and finish with the most intricate part, the face. Symbols are often also present in an icon. For example, an icon of St. Peter will probably show him holding keys, meant to symbolize the metaphorical keys to heaven, an interpretation of his role as leader of the church. It symbolizes Peter's authority in this role. Pope John Paul II is depicted in the icon on your screen in a white cassock, a traditional symbol of his office as Pope. Look at the body language of John Paul. What message does this convey to you? What does it say about his role as part of the sacred story of Catholicism from St. Peter's time and passing on the role of leader of the church? Not all icons use gold, however, though many do. If gold is absent, how would you see the icon differently? Icons may also look different from the traditional icons with the gold halos that we saw in the last screen. Icons are used to pray with, and the iconographer is usually the first person to pray with their icon. Different parts of the icon catch the attention of different people, and the message conveyed through the icon, the sacred story, is variable. Sometimes there is symbolism in the colors chosen in the icons. Many people believe that icons are a window, not a picture. In other words, you need to look through an icon to see its meaning. It is sacramental. It makes known something that is otherwise invisible.